Hi, mystery writers. Welcome to Write a Killer Mystery, where we talk about making a good mystery great. And today I want to talk about something that will really lift your writing from amateur to professional, and that is controlling the details of your story. First, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for their continued support of this video series and my mystery writing. And if you'd like to join us, there's a link in the description below. Okay, so control the details of your story. Setting details can overwhelm your reader. They really can. So long narrative passages describing the place or the weather can slow down your reader, and every time you slow down your reader, there's a chance that you lose your reader. So you don't want that to happen. But you can use those same details to heighten your story and engage readers with your character. And I think that's the clue, is connecting those details to the character in the scene. For instance, your detective may walk into the victim's studio to learn what they can about the victim, and a long narrative description of everything in the studio would tell the reader about the room. But instead of describing everything, you can focus, you can narrow down to certain details and connect them to your character. So you may have a short list of items, say, on that victim's workbench, and you can use that list of items to hide a clue. One of those things on the list is going to be a clue, but you put it in a cluster of items so the reader doesn't see it as an important clue. But at the same time, your detective may run their hand along the edge of the uneven wood of the workbench edge, and as they do, they get a splinter in their palm. And the annoyance of the splinter distracts your detective from an uncashed check that's lying on the workbench underneath some other papers. But he or she doesn't get that far because all of a sudden there's this thing sticking in their hand. And that check was written by an important suspect. And so the splinter creates a missed opportunity for your detective, but at the same time, your readers really connect. Everyone knows how annoying a splinter can be, all right? So when you tie your story details to a character, you add more emotional punch for your reader. So think of that splinter, okay? Everyone knows how annoying those splinters can be and how it distracts you from whatever you were doing. And readers relate to that moment in your character's life. They really empathize. They're like, they can feel that splinter. And it's like, so that one detail of the splinter brings the studio and the work table alive. It brings it alive in this story in a way a long description of everything in the room would not do. So the more you tie the details to a character, the more immediate the details feel, and the more the reader connects with those specific details. And the more your reader connects to those details, the more they care about your character and the more they care about your story. So when your reader cares about a character, they care about the story and they really want to find out what's going to happen next. And I know I've talked about this before, but it's really important. Making that emotional connection with your character really brings your reader into the story. And another thing you can do with details is to bring in tension, heighten the tension in the story. And this once again is a way that you can lift yourself from the amateur writer level to a really professional storyteller level. The tension comes from the character's experience with the details. So, for example, imagine your brave heroine Sleuth is kidnapped, tied up, and shoved into the trunk of a car. All right? It's dark. She can't see anything. And then she starts feeling around with her fingers, with her hands tied behind her back. She's like feeling with his fingers. What else is she going to find on the floor of the trunk of the car? And your reader will wonder if she finds anything. And if she does, will it be something she can use to cut her ties, or something she can use as a weapon once her captor opens the hood of the trunk? So whatever objects you put in the back of the car within reach of those fingers will heighten the tension of the story. So, will your heroine free herself? Will she overcome her captor? And the immediacy of the objects helps your reader mentally try to help that character out of a bad situation. They're really empathizing with your character in this situation. So use the five senses to create your details. So in the immediacy of writing your draft, you may miss those details. And so one of the benefits of editing is you can go back in each scene and make sure that you have sensory details in each scene that will connect your reader with the story. So you want to aim for sensory details in each and every scene of your story. So you have sight, you have sound, you have touch, you have taste, and you have a smell. So there's a lot to work with. You just want to make sure that those details are actually in your scene. So you can aim for about 3 sensory elements in each scene, and be sure to vary the senses in the sequence of the scenes. For instance, if you have sight, sound, and taste in one scene, create a different mix in another scene, like smell, touch, and sight. So that in each scene you have this immediacy and the details. Those details make such a powerful connection with your reader. They really feel like they're in your story and they're right there with your character, trying to solve this mystery puzzle and get out of those tough situations. So be sure to use those details, and how can I say this? Just be very sparing with long narrative descriptive passages, because usually you can isolate certain details and bring them into their story with a lot of immediacy, and that brings your reader into the story, whereas a long narrative description puts your reader out of the story. They're kind of looking down at the story, seeing what's happening. So if you can isolate your details, you're going to have a lot more power and a lot more emotional connection with your reader. Okay, I hope that helps. It's very important. I've been reading a couple of mysteries this week, and I've noticed that the author who has those sensory details really brings you into the scene. So if you haven't tried this before, just try it and see what happens with your scene. If you just take 1 or 2 things on in that scene where your character is, and give your character a connection with the scene. It could be a can of fizzy water, and it could be as simple as that, but that your character has an opinion about it. They love fizzy water on a hot day, whatever it is. But when you take and isolate an item and connect your character to it, the whole feeling of the setting is going to be much more powerful. Okay, that's it. If you like this, buy me a cup of coffee. There's a link in the description below. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, I'll put them below and I'll get back to you with answers. And thank you for being here. Keep writing.